I'm only good at one thing, and that's getting athletes recruited to college. In the time that I've been doing this, we've gotten our athletes over $4 million in offered scholarships. The average scholarship an athlete will receive in the program is over $101,000 over 4 years, which is about $25,500 per year. I have parents and athletes DMing me every single day the same thing. Can you help me get recruited because their coach isn't helping them? The platforms they're signing up for aren't actually getting in touch with the coaches like they promised. And they're trying to do it themselves and are just seeing absolutely no results. And I get it. The recruitment world probably has one of the biggest gaps in knowledge that we've seen, to the point where athletes will send a few emails thinking they did all they could do. They talk to their high school or club coach about getting recruited and the coach promises to help them out and we don't see anything happen. Family friend claims to know the process or is going to help them out, doesn't really help. They sign up for that platform, doesn't really get them in touch with coaches. But doing that is not enough. And it's because of this one simple thing. You don't know the recruitment process. So today I'm going to be completely breaking down how the recruitment process works from A to Z. So when you leave this video, you'll know exactly what to do, from finding the schools to getting the offers. And I'm going to be showing you why using the online platforms, relying on a coach, relying on your parents, and relying by doing it yourself just isn't feasible anymore. And it will keep you stuck exactly where you are. This is going to be the most real and unfiltered explanation of how the college recruitment process works. And we can even take it into other sports, but this is going to be specifically tailored towards track and field, but this advice can be kind of universal. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly the difference between athletes who don't get offers and the athletes who do get offers. So let's get straight into it. All right, so let's break down each step of the recruitment process step by step. So, number one, this is where you're gonna figure out what schools you can even run in the first place. First thing you have to do is understand what the school standards are and what times they're looking for in athletes, and if you're even academically eligible to go there. There's multiple ways you can go about finding out if you can run for a school, and one of the best ways you can do it is obviously looking up the standards on the website. Now, unfortunately, most schools do not have their standards posted online, so it's really difficult to find out how and where you fit in. But I've developed a few different strategies you can use in order to do this. So number one is going to be called the TFERS method. So this method is about 90 to 95% accurate and will give you a decent gauge on to see where you fit in the whole realm of track and field recruitment. So what you're going to do is go to tfrrs.com and look for a school that you want to attend. Now, do not look at the times on the roster. Coaches are not going to be recruiting based on what they currently have. They're going to be recruiting based on who can potentially score points and the conference meet. Now, what you're going to do is go to the actual conference meet and look at the top 8 times in the prelims. Now, for distance events, you're going to have to probably go to the actual conference standards themselves and not the conference meet and look at the top 8 to top 15 to top 25 times. Top 25 times are typically when coaches are going to contact you back and give you standards. Top 15 to top 12 are going to be where you're a general recruit. This is where the real recruitment conversation will begin. Your top 8 are going to be your target recruits, which are probably going to be a lot of scholarship money. Now, that's just the first method. The second method is using a standards website. Now, we all know about Recruit. They typically don't have the correct standards. I've tested them many times. I'll put an example on screen. I entered 50 point into the standards website and it told me I can go to Georgia and Clemson. That's just not accurate. So I actually developed something called trackandfieldstandards.com. It goes based on the TFERS method, and also if we can find the actual standards on the website, we put a star next to it so you'll actually know it's the real standards. We wanted to develop something that gave you mostly accurate, like I said, is about 90 to 95%, because the TFERS method, like I said, isn't the exact standards. It's just pretty accurate. Now it's time to figure out if you're an academic fit. Now, this can range depending on the school and the conference. So for Ivy League schools, if you're an athlete, you still can get a little bit of leeway. You can actually get a likely letter submitted by the coach to the university to help push you through admissions, which is not guaranteed. You'll still need about a 1400 SAT and a really high GPA and outside credibility. But for most schools, if you just have above a 3.0 GPA and no D's or F's, you can get pushed through admissions. I went to UC Santa Barbara, which was the top 7 public institution in the entire country with a 3.3 GPA and an 1110 SAT score, just because the coach was able to push me through admissions because I didn't have any D's or F's and I had above a 3.0 GPA. But there's obviously the Ivy League schools and schools like Caltech and all these other really high academic prestigious schools. UNC requires above a 3.8, Notre Dame requires above a 3.6, I believe. So it just depends on the school. For this information, you typically have to contact the coach and they have to tell you directly. And that leads me to step 2, and that's outreach. Now that you've figured out where you sit athletically and academically, you now need to compile a list of schools that you're going to reach out to. Of course, look at the states you want to attend, look at the conferences and the divisions, and then put together a list. And I say nowadays, no less than 20 schools. Recruitment process, ever since roster limits has hit, has been very stressful, and you need a lot of options. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket anymore. Walk-ons at the higher levels are starting to disappear. At the lower levels, you still have opportunities, but you're still competing against the top athletes in the entire country, the transfer portal, and international athletes. So in the outreach phase, you're going to want to be sending emails like your life depends on it. You also want to be sending social media DMs via Instagram and X/Twitter. So in order to get a coach's contact information, you need to go search up the track and field team's roster. Now, typically every single roster page has a section for coaches that has their email and or phone number. Typically that phone number is an office number, so they won't pick up. Maybe they might pick up on a once in a blue moon call, but typically stick to the email. Even though coaches do get a lot of emails in their inboxes, you still want to send emails. In order to find a coach's social media profile, you're typically just gonna have to look up their name and hope and pray that their username is the same as their name. Or find the actual team's Instagram and then try to find the coach's name from there and then send them a DM. Typically coaches do have their DMs open because a lot of recruits do DM them. So just make sure you send an appropriate DM. Now, this is the part of the process where most athletes give up. And this is the difference between athletes who make it to college and athletes who don't. Getting a response from a college coach can be very difficult. And this is why knowing how to write an email is so absolutely essential. And I'll link a video in the description showing you exactly how you can write an email to a college coach. So I'll leave that there. But for those of you that want to keep going and understanding the process, this is where you cannot rely on others to make it happen for you. You are responsible for your own future. Yes, you can get support from your parents and support from your college coach, but they aren't going to do the work for you. You need to get off your butt, email these coaches, and DM them on social media. And when it comes to the platforms, I'm not going to be mentioning specific names, but their claim to get you in touch with the coaches and coaches to reach out to you, that may happen with like the NAIA and maybe some D3 schools, but typically when it comes to the schools that you're looking for, which could be D3 or NAIA, not to throw those out the window because you can easily get in touch with a school that you like. They're not looking for you on these platforms. They're looking for you on MileSplit or Athletic.net or local states or local county, track meets, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, coaches are looking for athletes that want to be excited and want to go to their program. So if you go and contact a coach, it shows that you want to take initiative and email the coach and show them you want to go there. So just make sure that you are doing all the contact yourself. Do not have your parents email the coaches for you. Don't have your coach email them for you. You email them yourself. And also, if you do not email the coach correctly, there's no hesitation for them to throw your email right out the window. On to step 3, and that's the nurturing phase. Once you have gotten in contact with the college coach, you need to nurture this relationship in order to actually get invited on a visit, which we'll talk about in a second. But in this phase, you're going to be getting on a lot of phone calls with coaches. You're going to be sending over a lot of your results. You're going to be sending over your transcripts and your test scores, everything so the coach can get a full context of who you are as an athlete and a student as well, because they also factor that in a lot. But in this phase, you cannot mess up the relationship or you'll encounter this main issue, and that is coaches ghosting you. If you're a good person and a coach wants to recruit you, he's not going to ghost you. A lot of athletes complain about coaches ghosting them, but then you look back on the form of communication and there was just things you were saying that the coach may not have liked. Or the coach may have found somebody more talented and has better grades than you, which can happen. So you want to be able to stick out. So main things that you can do to stick out to college coaches is showing how hard of a worker you are, show your intentionality, put in the work, and apply to the school. That will show all of the types of things that coaches want to see when getting recruited. Of course, don't be difficult. Don't give the coach more homework. When he asks you to do something, do it immediately because then you stay top of mind. But this phase is really important. So make sure you're getting on phone calls. Make sure you're updating coaches on your current times. If you hit some impressive practice marks, always feel free to share those with the coach. It does not hurt. As long as you have constant communication, showing how serious you are about the school, it's going to make the coach want to recruit you so much more. Now, what's the whole point of the nurturing phase? The whole point of the nurturing phase is to get it to a point where the coach feels comfortable enough to actually bring you on a visit and meet in person. Now, onto the visit stage. This can go in many different ways. There are multiple ways visits work. You can get drop-bys, official visits, and unofficial visits. Drop-bys are when you happen to be in town, you call the coach up, or you email him saying, hey, I'm actually driving through the city, or I'm here for a football game, or I'm visiting some friends. I would love to, maybe get a walking tour, just drop by and say hi for 15 to 20 minutes. This is not a scheduled event. It's more of just spontaneous thing. Now, unofficial visits are where the coach still invites you on a visit. They still have a schedule put together for you, but you have to pay for transportation and food while you're there. And just a quick pro tip, if a coach invites you on an official visit, chances are you're probably gonna be a walk-on. Now, for official visits, this is when they invite you out, you probably spend the night, and they pay for everything. You're gonna be paid for your travel, the hotel, the plane if you're gonna be flying there, the meals while you're there, and anything else. And you may also, most likely, depending on the school, get a photo shoot. I know unofficial visits, they still can do the photo shoot, but typically they reserve those for the official visit type people, just depending on the school. But you know if a coach is really taking you seriously and wants you on the team if he's inviting you on official visits. Now, a really important tip that I also recommend is a lot of families won't know if they're getting official or unofficial visits. So please text and clarify with the coach which one you are getting, so there's nothing that's hidden behind the scenes. You want to know everything going on. Now, the next part is when you're on the visit, please do not cuss, do not do anything stupid, and don't get in trouble. Just show up the best version of yourself, ask smart questions, pull athletes aside and talk to them about the realities of the program, and just show that your intention of being there isn't to have the nice sleepover and go to the parties with the athletes. It's all about the actual school, the academics, and the sports, right? Don't be gossiping while you're there. Don't cause issues. Parents, please don't overstep your boundaries either. This is the place for where your son or daughter has to take the lead, and you're just there as support, just making sure that the right decisions and right conversations are had. So don't try to dominate and try to ask for those scholarships and do all that stuff. We've had a lot of parents that go on these visits, they ruin the scholarship opportunities for their kids. Do not ruin the college opportunities for your athletes. But typically, depending on the school, they will give you an offer after the visit, usually either on the visit or a few weeks after the visit. It just depends. Now, this is where a huge and major problem occurs. Another round of ghosting or a lack of transparency. Coaches will say an offer will come and it'll be a month later and they still don't have an offer. You want to make sure that you're being timely and having your deadline set from where you want to commit, and when the coaches are being timely and say when they want you to commit. The main part of the process is just being intentional. If you know what you want, it's going to make it a lot easier to go through the process. But in this phase, this is where constant communication is going to be really key. If you were asking for updates and coaches and giving you anything and he's being kind of lazy, I would stray away from the school personally, but it all depends on how bad you want to go to the school and if you want to go there for track reasons or if you're more looking for the academic side of things. Now, once you receive this offer, you can and potentially negotiate. Negotiations typically look like are if you can run faster times, will I get more money, or is this offer set in stone? Now, if the coach says yes, you can get more money if you run faster, that is definitely an option that you should exercise. Of course, you can't completely control if you run faster, injuries do occur, but if you want to negotiate on the spot, you better have evidence to suggest why you deserve more money. Now, some quick tips as well to add on top of that, look at your ranking of where you would hypothetically be in the conference based on your current times, and that will give you a good idea on how much you can negotiate. Now, if you get invited on a visit and your times are top 6 in the conference, which are junior high school times, and they don't give you a lot of money, you could easily talk to the coach and be like, hey, I'll be coming in like this. There's no reason I should be getting this little of money. Now, a lot of programs, surprisingly, in track and field have budget issues. Track and field is not the richest sport. They actually are a non-revenue sport. So there's not a lot of money in track and field. But like I said, depending on the program, they could bump up your scholarship depending on what your other offers are looking like, other visits are looking like. But the biggest key here is just transparency. If you're very transparent and upfront with what you need from the coach early on, then it's not going to lead to a lot of the confusion coming later. Super simple. Now, once you get all your offers, you've gone on all your visits, you've gone on your phone calls with coaches, it's time to make a decision. Now, the decision is all going to come down to one thing, and that's your gut. Nothing else is going to tell you a better decision to make than your gut feeling of how you felt on the visit, the vibe you got from the team, and the vibe you got from the coach. You can look at all the financials, you can look at everything else, but in general, the decision you're going to make is be going on the gut feeling you felt on the visit. If you felt appreciated, you felt wanted, you felt like you actually grow and develop there, I would make the decision based off of that. One of the biggest mistakes we see athletes and parents make is scholarship chasing, which of course, a lot of families do need scholarship money in order to go to school. We know that school is expensive, but it's also an investment. And you want to invest in something that's going to make you better, because you can scholarship chase, get a full ride, and end up worse coming out because you were very in toxic environment. You didn't actually get what you were supposed to get from it. So just go based on the fit. Do not go based on the scholarship money. Of course, like I said, scholarship can be important. Money is important, but at the end of the day, you want to go where you're wanted. And that can correlate with scholarship. If a coach wants you more, he's going to give you more scholarship. But like I'm just saying, I'm just trying to drive the point home, go where you're wanted. Now that you understand how this works, you have two options. You can keep guessing and doing the work yourself, or relying on the coach, or relying on the websites, or you can get help from people who actually understand this and do it for a living. Now, if you really want to see what that looks like and you want that extra assistance and you want this whole process clear cut, systemized into a way where you know you're going to be safe and at a school that loves you and that you love them back, click the link in the description. I'll put a link for you to work with us. If you guys do qualify, we'll give you a call, but not everyone is going to qualify to run college track. If you think about it, only 5% of people will make it to the college level, whether that's JUCO, NAI, D3, D2, or D1. So a lot of you guys probably will not qualify. qualify. But if you do, and you have above a 3.0 GPA, we'll gladly entertain a conversation and see if we can potentially help you. But other than that, if you have any other questions about the recruitment process, feel free to DM my Instagram at preferredrecruit or comment down below. I read all the comments. It's usually very few, so it's not too difficult. But anyways, it's Ryan from the Preferred Recruit, guys.